Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaj's message is your advantage. The following is a Sri Krishna Chaitanya book compilation given by His Holiness Jaya Pataka Swami Maharaj on August 18th, 2021 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Angong Langayate Girim
Natchiva Avhanvande
Shri Gurum Deenatarinam
Paramananda Madhava
Shri Chaitanyamishwaram.
Adi Om Tat Sat.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, today we will continue with the compilation of Shri Krishna Chaitanya book. Today's chapter is entitled Why Mayavadis are Unable to Utter the Holy Name of Lord Krishna. Under the section, the Lord travels to Vrindavan. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 17.123.
প্রভু দর্শন ফলে শুদ্ধ চিত্ত বিপ্রে প্রভু স্ব আকাশে সমস্ত ঘটনা বর্ণন। প্রভুর দর্শনে শুদ্ধ হইয়াছে তার মন, প্রভু আগে দুঃখী হইয়া কহে বিবরণ।
The mind of the Brahmana was already purified by his seeing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He therefore went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and described what had taken place before the Mayavadi sannyasi Prakashananda.
So after Lord Chaitanya went through the Jharkhanda forest, he arrived in Varanasi.
So after Lord Chaitanya went through the Jharkhanda forest, he arrived in Varanasi.
There he identified the powers of Lila chanted him. There he chanted Hare Krishna.
There he chanted Hare Krishna and crowds of people chanted Hare Krishna along him.
So this is describing the pastimes in Varanasi.
So this is describing the pastimes in Varanasi. CC Madhya 17.124.
প্রভুর ঈষৎ হাস্য শুনি মহাপ্রভু তবে ঈষৎ হাসিলা, পুনরপি সেই বিপ্র প্রভুরে পুছিলা।
Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mildly smiled. The Brahmana then spoke again to the Lord. CC Madhya 17.125.
মায়াবাদীর প্রকৃতির সম্বন্ধে গৌণ নাম উচ্চারণেই যোগ্যতা, তুরীয় বৈকুণ্ঠ নাম উচ্চারণে অযোগ্যতা। তার আগে যবে আমি তোমার নাম লইল, সেও তোমার নাম জানে আপনে কহিল।
The Brahmana said, as soon as I uttered your name before him, he immediately confirmed the fact that he knew your name.
And this Brahmana is revealing how the Mayavadi sannyasis are criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So this Brahmana is revealing how the Mayavadi sannyasis criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
But by that, he inadvertently chant the name of Lord Chaitanya many times.
That he before him chanted the name of Lord Chaitanya many times. Okay, CC Madhya 17.126.
তোমার দোষ করিতে করে নামের উচ্চারণ, চৈতন্য চৈতন্য করি কহে তিনবার।
While finding fault with you, he uttered your name 3 times, saying, Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya.
Haribo.
Haribo.
by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Mayavadis were uttering his name.
So, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Mayavadi is uttering his name. CC Madhya 17.127.
চিদ বিলাসে অবিশ্বাস হেতু মায়াবাদীর মুখে অবজ্ঞা ভরেই শ্রী নাম উচ্চারিত হওয়ায় নাম অপরাধ হেতু উহা অশ্রাব্য। তিনবারে কৃষ্ণ নাম নাইল তার মুখে, অবজ্ঞাতে নাম লয় শুনি পাই দুঃখে।
Although he spoke your name 3 times, he did not utter the name
Krishna!
Krishna. Because he uttered your name in contempt, I was very much aggrieved. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prakashananda Saraswati vilified and blasphemed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Words like Brahma, Chaitanya, Atma, Paramatma, Jagadisha, Ishvara, Virat, Vibhu, Bhuma, Vishwarupa, Vyapaka all indirectly indicate Krishna. However, the chanter of these names is not actually attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. One may get a little light from these names, but one cannot understand that the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord. One considers the Lord's names material due to a poor fund of knowledge. Mayavadi philosophers and the Paschopasakas cannot in the least understand the existence of the spiritual world and the blissful variegatedness there. They cannot understand the absolute truth and its spiritual variety, name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Consequently, they conclude that Krishna's transcendental activities are Maya. To avoid this misconception, one has to directly cultivate knowledge about the holy name of the Lord. Mayavadi philosophers do not know this fact and therefore they commit great offenses. One should not hear anything about Krishna or devotional service from the mouths of Mayavadi impersonalists.
One hears Mayavadi impersonalists about Krishna or devotional service,
If one hears from a Mayavadi impersonalist about Krishna or devotional service,
then they'll be implicated in offenses,
then they will be implicated in offenses
and their devotion will be ruined.
and their devotion will be ruined.
Mayavadi Kata Sudle Hayo Sarvanash.
মায়াবাদী কথা শুনলে হয় সর্বনাশ।
By hearing the words of Mayavadis on devotional service is ruined.
By hearing the words of Mayavadi, one's devotional service is ruined.
So one should be very careful not to hear about Krishna or devotional service from Mayavadis.
So one should be careful to not hear about Krishna or devotional service from the Mayavadis. CC Madhya 17.128.
প্রভু সমীপে উহার কারণ জিজ্ঞাসা, ইহার কারণ মরে কহ কৃপা করি, তোমা দেখি মুখ মোর বলে কৃষ্ণ হরি।
Why could Prakashananda not utter the names Krishna and Hari? He chanted the name Chaitanya thrice. As far as I am concerned, simply by seeing you, I am moved to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari.
This is the evidence
This is the two
that devotees are naturally inspired to chant the name of Krishna or Hari.
So the devotees are naturally inspired to chant the names of Krishna or Hari.
But the Mayavadis are not attracted.
But the Mayavadis are not attracted. Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka 9.148. Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Sannyasis, vanaprasthas, performers of Vedic sacrifices, and followers of austere vows all went to see the Lord. Only some envious leading sannyasi and others did not go to see him. Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka 9.149 Maharaj Pratap Rudra Sarvabhauma. Why is that even though being the leaders they were envious? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, O Maharaj, Pratap Rudra, as long as one has not conquered the mind, one can give up envy to the Supreme Personality.
Cannot give up.
One cannot give up envy to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak 9.151 Maharaj Pratap Rudra then says, Then, CC Madhya 17.129
মায়াবাদী সেবা বিবাদী বা অপরাধী, সুতরাং তন্মুখে কৃষ্ণ নাম আসে না। বুকাহে মায়াবাদী কৃষ্ণে অপরাধী, ব্রহ্মা আত্মা চৈতন্য কহে নিরবধি।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, The Mayavadi impersonalists are great offenders unto Lord Krishna. Therefore, they simply uttered the words Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya.
So, this reveals why the Mayavadis can't chant the name of Krishna or Hari.
So, this reveals why the Mayavadis can't chant the names of Krishna or Hari. CC Madhya 17.130
কৃষ্ণ নাম, কৃষ্ণ বিগ্রহ ও কৃষ্ণ স্বরূপের অদ্বয় জ্ঞান তত্ত্ব এবং জীব নাম, জীব মূর্তি ও জীবের স্বরূপে পার্থক্য বর্ণন। অতএব তার মুখে না এসে কৃষ্ণ নাম, কৃষ্ণ নাম কৃষ্ণ স্বরূপ দ্বৈত সমান।
Because they are offenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is identical with his holy name. The holy name Krishna does not manifest in their mouths. CC Madhya 17.131
নাম বিগ্রহ স্বরূপ তিন এগ্রো, তিনে ভেদ নাহি তিন চিদানন্দরূ।
The Lord's holy name, his form, and his personality are all one and the same. There is no difference between them. Since all of them are absolute, they are all transcendently blissful.
So that's why in this Kali Yuga, by chanting the name of Krishna,
So that's why in this Kali Yuga, by chanting the names of Krishna,
Krishna is personally present.
Krishna is personally present.
And therefore, the more we can get people to chant Krishna Nam, then the whole situation will become transcendental.
Therefore, the more we get people to chant, the whole situation will become better. Transcendental. CC Madhya 17.132
দেহ দেহীর নাম নামীর কৃষ্ণে নাহি ভেদ, জীবের ধর্ম নাম দেহ স্বরূপে বিভেদ।
There is no difference between Krishna's body and himself, or between his name and himself. But as far as the conditioned soul is concerned, one's name is different from one's body, from one's original form, and so on. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is herein pointing out to the Brahmana that Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that the living entity is equal in quality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they do not accept this, they think that the living entity has been falsely divided from the original Brahman due to being conditioned by Maya. Mayavadis believe that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal. When an incarnation of God or God himself come, they think that he is covered by Maya. In other words, Mayavadi impersonalists think that the Lord's form is also a product of this material world. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand that Krishna has no body, They cannot understand Krishna has no body separate from himself. His body and himself are both same absolute truth. Not having perfect knowledge of Krishna, such impersonalists certainly commit offenses at his lotus feet. Therefore, they do not utter Krishna, the original name of the Absolute Truth. In their impersonal way, they utter the name of impersonal Brahman, Spirit Soul. In other words, they indulge in indirect indication of the Absolute Truth. Even if they happen to utter the names Govinda, Krishna, or Madhava, they still cannot understand that these names are as good as Govinda, Krishna, or Madhava, the person. Because they are ultimately impersonalists, their uttering of the personal name has no potency. Actually, they do not believe in Krishna but consider all these names to be material vibration. Not being able to appreciate the holy name of the Lord, they simply utter indirect names like Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya. It is a fact, however, the name of Krishna and Krishna, the person, are both spiritual. Everything about Krishna is transcendental, blissful, and objective. For a conditioned soul, the body is different from the soul. And the name given by the Father is different from the soul. The conditioned living entity's identification with material objects keeps him from attaining his actual position. Although he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he acts differently. The Swarupa, or actual identification of the living entity, is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiber Swarup Hoy Krishner Nityadas. The conditioned soul has forgotten the real activities of his original position. However, this is not the case with Krishna. Krishna's name and his person are identical. There is no such thing as Maya Krishna because Krishna is not a product of the material creation. There is no difference between Krishna's body and his soul. Krishna is simultaneously both soul and body. The distinction between body and soul applies to conditioned souls. The body of the conditioned soul is different from the soul, and the conditioned soul's name is different from his body. One may be named Mr. John, but if we call for Mr. John may never actually appear. However, if we utter the holy name of Krishna, Krishna is immediately present on our tongue. In Padma Purana, Krishna says, Madbhakta yatra gayanti tatra tishtami Narada. O Narada, I am present wherever my devotees are chanting. When the devotees chant the holy name of Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Lord Krishna is immediately present.
So, Prabhupada has explained that our body is different from the soul.
So Prabhupada has explained that our body is different from the soul.
There are 8,400,000 different bodies.
There are 8,400,000 different bodies.
And we have gone through various births.
And we have gone through various births.
All the body is different from the Atma or the soul.
Although the body is different from Atma or soul,
Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, his form is Satchidananda.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his form is Satchidananda.
And there's no difference from his form and his Atma.
There is no difference between his form and Atma.
Mayavadis think that the form of Krishna is maybe in the mode of goodness.
The Mayavadis thinks that the form of Krishna may be in the mode of goodness.
But Krishna existed before the material world.
But Krishna existed before the material world.
The material world is dependent on Krishna. Krishna is not dependent on the material world.
The material world is dependent on Krishna. Krishna is not dependent on the material world.
There's no difference between Krishna, the person, Krishna, the form, Krishna, the holy name.
So there is no difference between Krishna the person, Krishna the form, and Krishna the holy name.
As we chant the name of Hare Krishna,
So as we chant the names of Hare Krishna,
then Krishna is personally present.
then Krishna is personally present.
The Mayavadis are not able to understand it.
But the Mayavadis are not able to understand this. CC Madhya 17.133.
শ্রীকৃষ্ণ নামের স্বরূপ পদ্মপুরাণ ও বিষ্ণু ধর্মোত্তর বচন নাম চিন্তামণি কৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য রস বিগ্রহ পূর্ণ শুদ্ধ নিত্য মুক্ত ভিন্নতা নাম নামিন.
The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is a form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna are identical. Krishna himself are identical. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is a quotation from Padma Purana.
So, by taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna
So by taking shelter of the holy name of Krishna
in this age of Kali,
in this age of Kali,
we're getting a personal shelter of Krishna.
we are getting the personal shelter of Krishna.
Now, therefore, this is the most powerful process.
Therefore, this is the most powerful process.
Now, we should chant Hare Krishna
Therefore, we should chant Hare Krishna
all the time.
all the time. CC Madhya 17.134.
কৃষ্ণ নাম কৃষ্ণ তনু ও কৃষ্ণ বিলাস অপ্রাকৃত চিন্ময় ও সত্য প্রকাশ অতএব কৃষ্ণের নাম দেহ বিলাস প্রাকৃত ইন্দ্রিয় গ্রাহ্য নয় হয় স্বপ্রকাশ.
The holy name of Krishna, his body and his pastimes cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. They are manifested independently. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Since Krishna's transcendental body, name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all absolute truth, they are as good as Krishna himself, Sachidananda Vigraha. As long as the living entity is conditioned by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the objects of his material senses, material form, taste, smell, sound, and touch will not help him understand spiritual knowledge and bliss. Rather, these are revealed to the pure devotee. One's material name, form, and qualities are certainly different from one another. In the material world, there is no conception of absolute. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we find that there is no material difference between Krishna's body and his name, activities, and entourage.
So that's why the devotee, by chanting the Lord's name, by thinking of Krishna's pastime,
That's why the devotees, by chanting the Lord's name, by thinking of Krishna's pastimes,
by thinking of Krishna's devotees,
by thinking of Krishna's devotees,
all the things connected to Krishna are also transcendental.
All the things connected to Krishna are also transcendental.
In the real world, there's a difference.
In material world, there is a difference.
One life we may take a male body, next life in a female body.
So in one life we may take a male body, in the next life in a female form of a body.
What is the difference between the Atma, the soul, and the body?
There is a difference between Atma, the soul, and the body.
And parents may give a material name
The parents may give us a material name
to the body,
to the body,
but that name is also not identical with the body.
but that name is also not identical with the body.
But Krishna, everything is identical.
But with Krishna, everything is identical.
And therefore, by chanting Krishna's name,
Therefore, by chanting Krishna's name,
one is able to achieve spiritual bliss.
one is able to achieve spiritual bliss. CC Madhya 17.135.
কৃষ্ণের নাম রূপ গুণ লীলা একই বস্তু। কৃষ্ণ নাম কৃষ্ণ গুণ কৃষ্ণ লীলা বৃন্দ কৃষ্ণের স্বরূপ সম সব চিদানন্দ।
Krishna's holy name, transcendental qualities, and transcendental pastimes are all equal to Lord Krishna himself. They are all spiritual and full of bliss.
And that's why, by chanting the name of Krishna,
So that's why by chanting the names of Krishna,
one can advance in Krishna consciousness
one can advance in Krishna consciousness
and start to taste spiritual bliss.
and start to taste spiritual bliss. CC Madhya 17.136.
অপ্রাকৃত কৃষ্ণ নাম রূপ গুণ লীলা শুদ্ধ ভক্তির দ্বারাই গ্রাহ্য, তর্কপন্থায় অক্ষজ জ্ঞানে অগম্য। অত শ্রীকৃষ্ণ নামাদি ন ভবেদ গ্রাহ্য ইন্দ্রিয়, সেবন মুখ জিহ্বাদৌ স্বয়ং এব স্ফুরতদ্য।
Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. This is a verse recorded in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234.
So, the chanting of Krishna's name and taking Krishna prasadam
So the chanting of Krishna's name and taking Krishna prasadam
purify the tongue,
purifies the tongue,
and thus one is able to have special spiritual realization.
and thus one is able to have special spiritual realizations. CC Madhya 17.137.
পরম চমৎকার কৃষ্ণ মাধুর্য ব্রহ্মজ্ঞেরও আকর্ষক, ব্রহ্মানন্দ হইতে পূর্ণানন্দ লীলারস, ব্রহ্মজ্ঞানী আকর্ষিয়া করে আত্মবশ।
The mellows of Lord Krishna's pastimes, which are full of bliss, attract the Jnani from the pleasure of Brahman realization and conquer him. Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When one understands that he belongs not to the material world but to the spiritual world, one is called liberated. Being situated in the spiritual world is certainly pleasurable. But those who realize the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna enjoy transcendental bliss many times more than one who has simply realized the self. When one is situated on the platform of self-realization, he can certainly be easily attracted by Krishna and become a servant of the Lord. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma Bhota Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one becomes spiritually realized, Brahma Bhuta, he becomes happy, Prasannatma, for he is relieved from material conceptions. One who has attained this platform is not agitated by material action and reaction. He sees everyone on the platform of spirit soul, Pandita Samadarshinaha. When one is completely realized, he can rise to the platform of pure devotional service, Mad Bhakti Labate Param. When one comes to the platform of bhakti, devotional service, he automatically realizes who Krishna is. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tat anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. It is only on the bhakti platform that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage. Being thus qualified spiritually, one is allowed to enter to the spiritual kingdom of God and return home back to Godhead. Vishate tat anantaram.
This is why the process of devotional service is considered as the best process of yoga.
This is why the process of devotional service is considered as the best process of yoga.
Because through this process one realizes Krishna
Because through this process one realizes Krishna
and can go back to the spiritual world.
and go back to the spiritual world.
Mayavadis think that the impersonal truth is the maximum.
The Mayavadis, they think that the impersonal truth is the maximum.
But the devotees, they reject this impersonal realization.
But the devotees, they reject this impersonal realization.
They want to serve the Lord
They want to serve the Lord
as a form of transcendental raja or mellows of spiritual bliss.
who is the form of transcendental reservoir of spiritual bliss.
And so of this, a lot of purports, because these spiritual matters are very important to understand.
There are a lot of purports because these spiritual matters are very important to understand.
This was being explained by Lord Chaitanya to the Brahmana.
So this was explained by Lord Chaitanya to the Brahmana. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 17.138.
কৃষ্ণলীলা মাধুর্য আকৃষ্ট ব্রহ্মজ্ঞানী ব্রহ্মরাত।
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other types of consciousness, he became attracted by the most melodious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke the supreme Purana known as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the bright light of the absolute truth and which describes the activities of Lord Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse was spoken by Suta Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.12.69.
Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree
Srimad Bhagavatam is considered as the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree
because it reveals your devotion to Lord Krishna
because it reveals pure devotion to Lord Krishna
in his different forms.
and his different forms.
And therefore one is recommended to read the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Therefore, one is recommended to read the Srimad Bhagavatam.
পরম চমৎকার কৃষ্ণগুণ আত্মরামেরও আকর্ষক ব্রহ্মানন্দ হইতে পূর্ণানন্দ কৃষ্ণগুণ অতএব আকর্ষয়ে আত্মারামেরও মন.
The transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna are completely blissful and relishable. Consequently, Lord Krishna's qualities attract even the minds of self-realized person from the bliss of self-realization.
Of the just like Sukadeva Goswami, he was already in the bliss of Brahman.
Just like Sukadeva Goswami, he was already in the bliss of Brahman,
But he became attracted to the pastimes of Krishna.
and he became attracted to the pastimes of Krishna.
Like the four Kumars,
Like the four Kumaras,
they went to Vishnuloka
they went to Vishnu
and
Loka.
already achieved self-realization.
When they went to Vishnu Loka, they already achieved self-realization.
But when they saw Lord Krishna
But when they saw Lord Vishnu
and paid their obeisances,
and paid their obeisances,
then the aroma of the Tulsi Devi
then the aroma of the Tulasi Devi
offered to the lotus feet of the Lord
offered to the lotus feet of the Lord
entered into their nostrils,
entered into their nostrils,
and they became ecstatic
and they became ecstatic
by spiritual bliss,
in spiritual bliss,
and realized that this happiness was more than the impersonal bliss.
and realized that this happiness was more than the impersonal bliss.
So those who are realized as impersonal Brahman,
Those who have realized impersonal Brahman,
if they get the association of Krishna
if they get the association of Krishna
or his expansions,
or his expansions,
then they get converted to devotees.
then they get converted into devotees. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 17.140.
মুক্ত পুরুষগণ কৃষ্ণ পদে সম আকৃষ্ট শ্রীমদ্ ভাগবতে 1:7-10.
Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantapi Urukrame Kurvanti Ahaitu Kim Bhaktim Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendently attractive features.
Krishna means the all attractive reservoir of all pleasure.
Krishna means the all attractive, the reservoir of all pleasure. Chaitanya CC Madhya 17.141.
কৃষ্ণ চরণ তুলসী ব্রহ্মগেরো মন হারিণী ঈশব রুহ কৃষ্ণ চরণ সম্বন্ধে আত্মা রামের মন হরে তুলসীর গন্ধে.
Apart from the pastimes of Lord Krishna, when the tulasi leaves are offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, even the aroma of the leaves attracts the minds of self-realized persons. C.C. Madhya 17.142.
নারায়ণ পদ তুলসী ব্রহ্মগ চতুষ্ষণেরও দেহ মনের শুদ্ধ সাত্ত্বিক বিকারিণী শ্রীমদ্ ভাগবত 3:15-43।
When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead enter through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.15.43. Vidura and Maitreya discussed the pregnancy of Diti. Diti's pregnancy caused the demigods to be very much afraid, and the demigods went to see Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma explained the original incident involving the cursing of Jaya and Vijaya by the Chatusana Kumaras. Once the Chatusana Kumaras went to Vaikuntha to visit Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were stopped from entering the palace at the 7th gate by the two doorkeepers named Jaya and Vijaya. Due to their jealousy, Jaya and Vijaya would not allow the Kumaras entry, and consequently the Kumaras became angry and cursed Jaya and Vijaya, condemning them to take birth in a family of asuras in the material world. The omniscient personality of Godhead could immediately understand the incident, and he came with his eternal consort, the goddess of fortune. The Chatusana Kumaras immediately offered their obeisances unto the Lord. Simply by seeing the Lord and smelling the aroma of tulsi and saffron from his lotus feet, the Kumaras became devotees and abandoned their long cherished impersonalism. Thus, the four Kumaras were turned into Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aromatic tulsi mixed with saffron. Those who are actually on the platform of Brahman realization and who have not offended the lotus feet of Krishna can immediately become Vaishnavas simply by smelling the aroma of the Lord's lotus feet. But those who are offenders or demons are never attracted to the Lord's personal feature, even though they may visit the Lord's temple many times. In Vrindavan, we have seen many Mayavadi sannyasis who do not even come to the temple of Govindaji, Gopinatha, Madan Mohan, because they think that such temples are Maya. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said that the Mayavadis are the greatest offenders. C.C. Madhya 17.143.
মায়াবাদী নিত্য কৃষ্ণ সেবা বিরোধী বলিয়া শুদ্ধ নাম কীর্তনে অনধিকারী অতএব কৃষ্ণ নাম নাই সে তার মুখে মায়াবাদী গণ যাতে মহাবহির মুখে।
Because the Mayavadis are great offenders and atheistic philosophers, the holy name of Krishna does not come from their mouths. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because they are constantly blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying that He has no head, hands or legs, Mayavadi philosophers remain offenders for many births even though they have partially realized Brahman. However, such impersonalists are not offenders at the lotus feet of the Lord. They immediately become devotees in the association of a devotee. In other words, if an impersonalist is not an offender, he can become a devotee if he gets a chance to associate with other devotees. If he is an offender, he cannot be converted even by the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much afraid of this Mayavadi offender. Therefore, he spoke as follows. C.C. Madhya 17.144.
প্রেমবন্যায় কাশী প্লাবনার্থ প্রভুর আগমন। ভাবকালী বেচিতে আমি আইলাম কাশীপুরে, গ্রাহক নাহি না বিকায় লইয়া যাব ঘরে।
I've come here to sell my emotional ecstatic sentiments to the city of Kasi, but I cannot find any customers. If they are not sold, I must take them back home.
Lord Chaitanya is giving his actual secret
So Lord Chaitanya is giving his actual secret.
to come here to sell his emotional ecstasies of devotional service.
He had come here to sell his emotional ecstasies of devotional service.
But if people are not taking that,
If people are not taking that,
then his mission is not fulfilled.
then his mission is not fulfilled. CC Madhya 17.145.
লৌল মূল্যেই প্রভুর প্রেম বিতরণ প্রতিজ্ঞা। ভারী বোঝা লইয়া এলাম, কেমনে লইয়া যাব, অল্প স্বল্প মূল্য পাইলে এথাই বেচিব।
I have brought a heavy load to sell in this city. To take it back again is a very difficult job. Therefore, if I get but a fraction of the price, I shall sell it here in the city of Kasi. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was selling the transcendental holy name of the Lord. But Kashi was a city of Mayavadis, impersonalists, and such people will never chant the holy names of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Consequently, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling disappointed. How could he teach the Mayavadis the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? The attraction for chanting the holy name of the Lord belongs absolutely to pure devotees, and there was no possibility of finding pure devotees at Kashi. Consequently, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's commodity was certainly very heavy. The Lord therefore suggested that even though there were no pure devotees in Kashi, if someone was a little inclined to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he would deliver this big load, although the proper price was not paid. Actually, we experienced this when we came to preach the Hare Krishna movement in the West. When we came to New York in 1965, we never expected that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra would be accepted in this country. Nonetheless, we invited people to our storefront to join in chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra. And the Lord's holy name is so attractive that simply by coming to our storefront in New York, fortunate young people became Krishna conscious. Although this mission was started with an insignificant capital, it is now going nicely. The spreading of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the West has become successful because the young people were not offenders. The youths who joined this movement were not very advanced as far as purity is concerned, but nor were they very well educated in Vedic knowledge. But because they were not offenders, they could accept the importance of the Hare Krishna movement. We are now very happy to see that this movement is advancing more and more in the Western countries. We therefore conclude that the so-called Mlechas and Yavanas of the Western countries are more purified than offensive Mayavadi or atheistic impersonalists.
So, Prabhupada has revealed how he gave the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the West.
So Prabhupada has revealed how he gave the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the West.
Because people had never heard of Krishna before,
Because people had never heard of Krishna before,
they are not offenders.
they are not offenders.
They took up the chanting of Hare Krishna,
And they took up the chanting of Hare Krishna.
and thus they got purified.
And thus they got purified.
Asil Prabhupada, he went to the West with this Krishna Bhakti product of Lord Chaitanya.
So Srila Prabhupada, he went to the West with the Krishna Bhakti product of Lord Chaitanya.
And he distributed that to everyone.
And he distributed that to everyone.
So we should be so grateful for Srila Prabhupada
So we should be so grateful to Srila Prabhupada
for bringing us this nectar of Krishna Bhakti
for bringing for us this nectar of Krishna Bhakti
and chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
and the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus ends the chapter entitled Why Mayavadis are unable to utter the holy name of Krishna under the section The Lord Travels to Vrindavan.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.